of y'all? Am I audible to all of y'all? Yes, wonderful. Okay, right, fine. So let's start with today's lesson. I hope you all know what we are going to learn today. It's going to be characteristics of living organisms, right? Okay, so yes, we'll start. All right. So yes, today's topic is going to be characteristics of living organisms. Right. So you all know that all organisms, right, if they are living, they will be having some characteristics in them, right? So as such, there are characteristics. We would have to know all of them, right? So let's see what are the characteristics of them. Let me take the right. So what are the characteristics of living organisms? Cellular organization, nutrition, respiration, excretion, movement, reproduction, growth and development, and finally irritability and coordination, right? So if you want to classify a thing as living, that organism or that particular thing has to show all of these characteristics, right? So in this lesson, we'll be discussing about all of these characteristics in detail, right? Okay, so let's go for the first one, which is known as cellular organization, right? So you know that all of the organisms, they are made up of cells, right? If it is living, it is made up of cells. All right. So you know that the cells, right, they are known as the smallest unit of life. It's living, right? So we are made up of cells, so which makes us a multicellular organism, right? But there are several organisms which are made up of just one cell. Okay, we call it the unicellular organism, right? Okay. And as I said, right, both multicellular organisms and unicellular organisms will show the characteristics of life, right? They have to have cellular organization, nutrition, movement, coordination, everything, right? Okay, what is this? This is a picture of bacteria depicting about unicellular organisms, right? They're single-celled, right? And they too are living, and they too will show movement, they too will show coordination, they too will show reproduction, right? And then we have multicellular organisms too, showing all of the characteristics of living being, right? Okay, what I was stressing on that is that if you are living, all those 8 characteristics will be shown in you. Right, now let's look at the picture of your elbow. Right, now can you see all of these are cells, right? All of these are cells. We have the adipose tissues, we have the cartilages, we have your bone, your blood, and loose connective tissues and fibrous connective tissues, right? So this is just the types of connective tissues in your body, right? Blood is a connective tissue, right? So can you see, even though you are made up of cells, your cells are different from each other, right? The cells in your eye is not similar to the cells in your skin, right? They are modified to perform a certain action, certain function, right? And then you know that cells, lots of cells together make up tissue, lots of tissues together make up an organ, and organs, lots of organs together make a system, and systems together make you an organism together, right? Okay, fine. So the next one is that now the first one we discussed was what? Cellular organization, right? And the next one, the second one is what? Nutrition, right? So of course, if you are living, you need to have your energy, right? So how do you get your energy, right? So that is what we are going to discuss under the nutrition, right? So look at this now. When we talk about nutrition, we have to focus on two things, right? Firstly, it is the autotrophic, and then we have the heterotrophic. Autotrophic organisms will be able to produce their own energy, right? They don't depend on other organisms, right? So again, autotrophic organisms can be divided into two parts, that is photoautotrophic and chemoautotrophic. What does that mean? Photoautotrophic organisms are able to perform photosynthesis. They get the energy from the solar energy, right? From the sun, basically, right? And then you should know the equation for photosynthesis, right? So what is the equation for photosynthesis? Well, they use the carbon dioxide from the environment and the water they get from the roots, right? And then with the help and with the light energy and using their chlorophylls which are present in their chloroplasts, they perform photosynthesis and produce glucose and oxygen, right? Then what about the chemoautotrophic? What do? This is an example for iron oxidizing bacteria, right? Can you see this brown stuff in here? Right? So what do? They basically obtain energy from oxidization of electron donors, right? They find chemicals, they find compounds from which they can oxidize and then get the energy from that. Okay, right. So this is an example for chemoautotrophic organism. Then holozoic. Okay, what do you think holozoic is? Holozoic organisms examples can be us, right? So holozoic organisms, basically they take food from outside, right? And then they digest inside their system and then they put the waste out, right? And even amoeba is one of the examples for that. Okay, so holozoic organisms, they will show ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and defecation, right? Some extra information for you all. And of course, there are some bad organisms too. What do you mean by bad organisms? Parasitic, right? So they basically, they feed on other organisms, right? Giving a harmful effect for the organism from which they feed on, right? They don't care about the organism in which they feed on. They just want their nutrition. That's it. And even some plants are parasitic, you know, right? Okay. And the next one is symbiotic. What do you mean by symbiotic organisms? They basically live with other organisms, right? And then the organism which they live in will have some benefits from them, and they will also provide some benefits for the organism which they live in, right? So symbiotic organisms. And the last one is saprophytic organisms. They basically feed on dead items, right? Such as the mushrooms, right? Okay, fine. Now, question time. I want all of y'all to answer this question. The chat room is open for y'all. Which one of the following statement is false regarding photosynthesis? Yes? Got one answer? First one. Exactly. Yes, it is the first one. Why? Why do you think so? Photosynthesis cannot be done artificially, right? Photosynthesis cannot be done artificially, right? So let's see what makes these other statements correct. Solar energy is converted into chemical energy during photosynthesis. Of course, that is correct, right? They use the solar energy and then they make it or convert into glucose, right? They produce glucose. So there's chemical energy being formed, right? Okay, next one. O2 gas is produced as a byproduct of photosynthesis. Yes, if you know the equation for photosynthesis, you will of course know that oxygen is produced as a byproduct of this reaction, right? And the next one, glucose produced during photosynthesis is temporarily stored in plant leaves as starch. Yes, that is true, right? Okay, fine. Let's have another question in here. This is about food chain, something you have learned in your grade 7's 8, right? Okay, open the chat box. Yes, answer me. Which one is the correct answer? The most efficient food chain. First one. Why? Why? Can you all explain why? Some of you all are telling the third one, yeah. The food chain which has the maximum number of organisms, right? Most of y'all are. Yes, it has a smaller food chain, less number of links. Yes, I'm getting the answers. Well done. Right? Okay, so the most efficient food chain in here is the first one, not the third one, right? So, of course, the ones who got it wrong, please listen to me carefully, right? So, it's not that the energy being transformed is utilized completely, right? As you know that the organisms, when they feed on grass, for an example, right? So when they feed on the other organism, just like the food chain, right? What happens is that there's an energy loss being happening, right? So the most efficient, or let's talk about the third one first so that you will understand. The more the organisms or the more units are there in the food chain, what happens is that the energy loss is high, right? Then which means if there's more energy loss, do you think it will be an efficient food chain? No, right? But this one, the energy loss is the least, right? So this is the correct answer. Okay, the first one. Okay, right, fine. Next one. Okay, easy question. Who is the tertiary consumer of in this food web? Yes. Okay, so you all should know, right? Very good. So you all should know the first one is known as the producer. Okay, this is basically from your grade 7, right? They are testing you all. This is a 2016 question, right? Basically, you know that the plants are known as the producer, and the first animal which eats from it is the herbivore, which we call as the first consumer, right? The first one, primary one, and then the second one will be the secondary, and then the third one will be the tertiary, right? So the answer is the hawk, right? Fine. Okay, so before we go into the next part, which is respiration, right? Let's remind our chemistry a bit. Okay, right. Look at this. Carbon dioxide, you all know that if you want to check carbon dioxide, right, what do? We let it react with calcium hydroxide, and what happens? We will get calcium carbonate, which will turn it into which will turn the solution to cloudy, right? It will make it cloudy, discolored, whitish solution, right? Can you all see? This one will be, if we let the calcium hydroxide, that is the lime water, react with carbon dioxide, you will eventually see that the solution will turn into a milky solution, right? Okay, so remember this so that you can understand what happens in the next part. Okay, right. So what is respiration? Respiration is the food that you intake, right? The nutrition, what the before topic that we learned. That food is utilized to form new energy to you, right? So why have I put this experiment in here? Well, first of all, let me tell you all some information. So what is respiration? The process by which the stored food is transformed into energy inside the cell is known as cellular respiration, right? Okay, so the food that you eat being transformed into energy is called as respiration, right? Cellular respiration. So for cellular respiration, right? Okay, now some of y'all might think, now what is this cellular respiration? And the normal, the one that you all know is the inspiration and the expiration, right? You inhale oxygen and then you let out carbon dioxide, right? So do you think there you are producing some energy? No, you're taking in oxygen and letting out your carbon dioxide. Then where does the energy production happen? That happens inside your cells. So that is why we call it the cellular respiration, right? Okay, so we are not going to talk about the diaphragm moving and what happens to the pressure inside your lungs and how the muscles work when you're breathing. No, we are not going to talk about that respiration. We are talking about the cellular respiration, what happens inside your cells, right? When you have your glucose, when you have your oxygen together, everything, what happens? How does this oxygen and the glucose that you eat transformed into energy, right? That part is what we are that part is the one that we are focusing on, right? So basically what you want to know in this particular lesson is that while respiration, what happens? You release carbon dioxide, right? If you are, listen to me very carefully, if you are producing energy inside your cell, know that you will release carbon dioxide out, right? So if that is the case, how will you prove it, right? How will you know that carbon dioxide is being released, right? Now look at this setup. This setup is to demonstrate that while respiration, carbon dioxide will be produced. Now in here, in your book, in your grade 10 book, they have used a frog, right? Instead of the frog, you can even use some germinating seeds, right? No issues in that, right? Now let's see what is this setup. First of all, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 jars, right? And then you have the connecting tubes to connect them, okay? And the first one is filled with potassium hydroxide, right? And then you have in here 2 containers with lime water, and then you have in here the organism which you want to prove that while it's respirating, it will produce carbon dioxide, or you can use even germinating seeds, right? And then finally you have water, right? And then the last container will have a suction, okay? Right. Respiration part again. Okay, let me explain respiration for y'all. So, okay, what is the part that you can't understand in respiration? Everything? Is it everything that you want me to explain? Okay, diaphragm is the divider that divides your abdomen and your thoracic cavity, right? So while you're breathing, what happens is that it moves, okay, right? Giving it more space. Okay, autotrophic organisms. Autotrophic organisms are the organisms which can produce their own food by the help of solar energy. Right, let's go back into respiration. So what is respiration? Respiration is the process by which the stored food, the food you intake, will be transformed into energy. Okay, right? Did you get that part? Right, what is the difference between respiration and cellular respiration? So cellular, now know that the fact that respiration, the respiration that you know, the system itself, what it does. Okay, what is the main organ which, what is the main organ of respiration? Tell me that first. Lungs, exactly, right? Lungs. What do? They intake air, right? And basically oxygen, and then they let out carbon dioxide, right? Okay, now do you think in your lungs, okay, do you think in your lungs you can produce, okay, you will produce energy, right? No, what it does is basically it will take in oxygen to the system, right? So that is the main respiration, right? Okay, the system respiration we are talking about. Now, cellular respiration is what your cells do with the glucose that it absorbs from their digestive system and with the oxygen which comes from your respiratory system. Both of these together will react inside the cell, right? Basically what happens is that we are talking about the powerhouse, which is the mitochondria, right? You all have learned that mitochondria is the powerhouse in which the energy is being produced, right? So that is what we are calling as cellular respiration. So, right, don't get confused, right? There's two terms, respiration and cellular respiration. Respiration is the normal respiration, inspiration and expiration, take in oxygen and send out carbon dioxide, right? That's it. Okay, cellular respiration is the one that we are going a bit deeper, looking at your cell. How is this food transformed into energy? And then for y'all, just know that when you're producing energy, when you're performing cellular respiration, carbon dioxide will go out. Okay, right. Now, listen to me very carefully. Okay, look at the system again. You have the KOH, you have the lime waters in both of these, and then the water. And some of you all have asked, why do we have a suction? Why do we have a suction? What do you all think? Why do we have a suction in here? Anybody can answer that? We have a suction because we want a flow of air into the system, right? Okay, when we let out this water, right? Exactly, right? When we want this, when we want air to flow from this peak, right? When you let this suction on, okay, the water level will go down and then there will be a flow of air into the system. So see in here, right? See in here, you have the airflow coming into this and A to B, B to C, C to D, D to E, right? So for that, you should have a pressure difference. You should have a pressure difference. Then what happens? You to make that, what you do, you switch on a suction, right? Okay. So there is an airflow happening inside, right? Now what happens in this system is that, okay, now first of all, why you let air in? You want carbon dioxide to come in, right? And then what is this KOH, right? Can anybody tell me, if you react potassium hydroxide and carbon dioxide together, what will happen? Why do we use potassium hydroxide in this system? What do you think? Why do we need potassium hydroxide? Exactly, to absorb carbon dioxide, right? We want to show that this frog or this organism which is in sea will produce carbon dioxide. So what we do, we take out the carbon dioxide which is coming from the air, right? To make sure that we receive the carbon dioxide only from this organism, right? So what happens? The air comes in, the carbon dioxide dissolves in the KOH, and then only the normal air comes in, right? And nothing with carbon dioxide comes in. Why? Because this KOH will not let any carbon dioxide go into this B system, right? So what will happen to the lime water? Do you think that the lime water will change the color into a milky solution? No, it won't happen, right? Why? Because KOH will absorb all the carbon dioxide, right? And then after a while, if you leave this system for about 2 hours, right, what happens? You see slowly this lime water in D will start to change its color, right? This lime water will change its color into a milky solution. Which means that this frog has been what? Producing carbon dioxide. Can you understand, right? So what we did, we let the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere accumulate or get absorbed to this KOH, right, into this system. And then we saw that the lime water is not changing its color, which means into this system from A, there's no carbon dioxide coming in, but still the lime water in D is changing color, right? Is turning into a milky solution, which shows that this frog has been producing carbon dioxide, right? Okay, hope this is clear for y'all. So let's go for the question so that you will understand better, right? Okay, now we'll understand this thing, right, in the question form. Okay, right. 2016 structure essay paper, second question B part. Okay, if this picture is not clear, I recommend you all to take your past paper books and turn the question. Right. Respiration is a process of living organisms. State the two types of respiration that can take place in organisms. Okay, right. Very good. Well done. Aerobic and anaerobic. Okay, can anybody define what is this aerobic and anaerobic respiration? What is aerobic respiration? Well, that is basically you use oxygen, right? Anaerobic, you don't use oxygen, right? Well done. Okay, right. Which one of the two types of respiration stated in A above produce more energy? Aerobic, right? Anaerobic is little energy, right? You know the amount of ATPs, okay, produced in these. Okay, this just two in anaerobic respiration. Right, fine. Coming into the main part of the question. The apparatus needed to arrange a setup to show experimentally that carbon dioxide gas is released during the respiration are given below without a sequential order. Without a sequential order, right? This is not in the correct order. Okay, this is confusing, right? What is the solution that should be put into bottle A? Bottle A? Yes. Uh-huh. Okay. Potassium hydroxide is it? Is that correct, children? Right. Okay. Lime water. A, lime water or potassium? Exactly. Yes. Lime water, right? There is already KOH. Can you all see in here? So it should be lime water. You know that this setup needs 2 lime water containers, right? Did you all understand that part? You need 2 lime water containers. Yeah. So it should be lime water, right? Okay, you have the suction with water, you have the germinating green gram, you have 1 lime water, and then you have the KOH. What is missing? Basically, another lime water container. Okay, right. After putting the relevant solutions into the bottle A, which is the lime water, write down the correct sequence in which the above bottles A, B, C, D, E should be connected. Okay, let's start with the first one. First, we need KOH. So that would be, let me take my annotation. That would be E, right? E first. And then I need a lime water, right? So I will let A. And then I would need what? I would need my green grams, right? So I would go with C. And then I would need another lime water container, which is going to be the D. And then I would connect my water with the suction, that is B. Am I correct? EACBD. EACDB. Yes, right? Okay. Right, this is the answer. Okay. Okay, right, fine. Next question. Okay, hold on a minute. Okay, mind your language in the chat box, please. Right? Okay. First of all, you should know to respect the class. Okay. If you don't know to respect, then you may leave. Okay. Better than education, I want you all to be disciplined. Right? If you all don't know how to discipline, then please leave. Okay, fine. Coming back to the question. State what should be done after connecting all the bottles correctly. What should be done? Exactly, right? You should let the air flow into this. How do you let the air flow into this? Of course, you should open the suction, right? You have to have the suction happening so that the airflow will start coming into the system, right? After the step mentioned in C above, state the change that could be observed in the setup. What will you see? The lime water in D will, it's D, right? Let me see. The lime water in, yeah, whatever we connected, that is the fourth container, will change into a milky solution, right? Next one, state the change that should be done to the above setup to arrange a control setup. Okay, what is a control setup? You want to see if this experiment is correct or wrong. So therefore, what do? We have a control setup. Okay, how do we make the control setup? Well, with this, right, with the let me take the correct one. Okay, with this, right, now this is the setup, the correct setup. Okay, to have the control setup, what we do, we use the C jar, an empty jar. Okay, or you can use a boiled grams, right, in which the germination does not take place, no respiration will take place, or you can just leave it as it is, right, empty one. Okay, so it will be controlled. And what do you think? The control one, the lime water will not change in both B and D. Can you understand, ma? Right? So that is what we call as control, right? You know this setup is working properly. And imagine you don't keep anything in this and still the lime water is turning milky, which means there is something wrong with the setup. Can you understand? Okay, you all should know what is this control is, right? In all the experiments that we use basically in the laboratory, we recommend to have a control setup just to make sure that our experiment is correct, right? Okay, fine. That's it. That question is done. So if you have got all the answers correct for that, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 marks. Done. Okay. Right, fine. Let's go for the next part. Okay, respiration again. Now, I told you all that oxygen will be used during respiration, right? Which means for you to produce energy, right? For you to produce energy, listen to me very carefully. If you are a living organism and you are having your nutrition properly, right? And then you are having your oxygen inside your system and in your cell, you have the mitochondria producing your energy. So for it to produce its energy, for it to produce its ATP, it needs glucose and oxygen, right? It needs its oxygen, right? We perform aerobic respiration, right? So in this setup, what we are going to discuss is that a practical demonstration to show the absorption of oxygen in respiration, right? Now look at this carefully, okay? Right. Let me, okay, I have some doubts. Okay, let's see. Can you repeat the answers for the, can you specify which part do you want me to? E part. State the change that should be done to the above setup to arrange the control setup relevant to the above experiment. Yeah, so what do you have to do into this? What do you have to do? You have to keep the C, you have to keep the container in which you put germinating seed, that is C, empty. You have to leave it empty, right? Okay, hope you understood it, right? So understand that this is two setups, right? One is the experimental setup and the other one is the control setup, right? Okay, for you to understand that this experiment is going well, you should have a control setup with you. Okay, right. Any more questions? Yes, we can use boiled grams too. Yeah, we can leave it empty, that is why. The purpose of removing air actually, right now, okay, now let me tell you an example. Sometimes when there's no pressure, right, you want to have a pressure difference. If you now understand the fact that air flows from high pressure to low pressure, right? You should know that. Okay, so for that to occur in this system, right, in this system, right, you need the air to come in, right? You need that. You just can't keep it like this and sit in front of it for the 24 hours. Okay, right? You need to see the results of this. So you need the air coming into the system. So what do? You blow into this to perform, you blow into this to have the pressure difference? No, what do? You have the suction from here, right? Now this is balanced, right? You put the water and you connect all the tubes and it's done, right? And then what you do when you open the tap, right? So this water level goes down or goes up? Answer me that first. When you open this tap, this water level goes up or down? It goes down, right? So you literally take away water. So what happens? There's a pressure difference happening. The pressure is low now, right? It's becoming low. Then what happens? To balance it out, from high pressure to low pressure, the air comes in. Now do you understand? Right? The air comes in. We want the air to flow inside this, right? Okay. Right. Okay. Hopefully you can answer, you can understand that part. Right. Okay. Right. So let me move forward. Shall we move forward? Okay. Right. Why did they use water? Well, of course, if you don't want to use water, then you can use a normal suction, right? Even like that, we have experiments, right? I saw a video recently, and in there, they did not have the water container, right? Control setup, don't get confused, Afra. Control setup is what we do. Listen to me very carefully, children. What is the control setup? For you to see that your setup is working properly. Okay, last time I'm gonna explain this one again for you all. Okay, what is so most of y'all, as soon as I told the control setup, you all got confused. Okay, listen to me very carefully. The control setup, this setup you all understood? Done? Dusted? Okay, fine. Now listen to the control setup. For you to understand, for you to check, okay, now see some person is, some child, okay, they did the experiment and they're like, wow, look at this. The B does not change and the B does not change the color, but the D changes. Wow, this frog is respirating. Okay, right? You got that idea. Okay, fine. And then you remove the frog, right? You remove the frog, right? What should happen? Tell me that. If you remove the frog, if there's no frog in here, what should happen? Exactly, no color change should take place, right? But still, if there's a mistake in the KOH, maybe the, let's say that you didn't you forgot to put KOH, okay, or the KOH is not working properly or something like that, right? The KOH is not, maybe it's expired or something, okay? Just understand the fact like that. Then what happens? B will also change color, D will also change color. This setup is entirely wrong, right? So for you to understand if this setup is working first, this setup is correct, you need a control setup to check if it is correct or wrong. Can you understand? Right? Okay? Okay? Right? So imagine there's no D, there's no frog in the sea, and still this changes color, which means there should be something leaking, or maybe air can come into this. Okay? Right? Can you understand? Okay, so which means your setup was wrong entirely. Okay, you should find out the mistake first and then perform that. Okay, right. Okay, so that is why we have the control setup. Even when we check for other, what do we call, other experiments, we use a control setup. Okay, fine. Yes, let's move on. Yeah, now this one. What is this? Germinating seeds. Okay, now this is two setups. We have two conical flasks, right? And then you have the rubber tubes, right, to maintain the pressure. Then we have these U glass tubes, two glass tubes, germinating seeds, right? In both we have. Right, okay, fine. What is the difference in these two setups? Now, what are we trying to prove? First of all, let me know that. What are we trying to prove in this? We want to show that during respiration, oxygen is being produced. Oxygen is being used. Sorry, Oxygen is being absorbed. Oxygen is needed for respiration. Okay, right, fine. Now to prove that, what we do, germinating seed. Now in this setup, we have oxygen already. Yes, that is why we let the air come in, right? And then we sealed off these rubber tubes, right? Now in here, you have a mixture of air, right? Atmospheric air, right? Now tell me, why do we hang potassium hydroxide container into this? Why? KOH is the difference. Yes. Why do we have to use this? Yes, we are focused only on oxygen in here. Understand the fact, right? We want only oxygen to be focused on. So we want to remove carbon dioxide out of this system, right? So how do we do that? We use the potassium hydroxide, right? Our savior. It will take out all the carbon dioxide into it, right? Okay, fine. Now what do we call? No carbon dioxide in the system A, right? But in here you have both. Understand that. No potassium hydroxide in here, right? Now what happens in here? What happens in here? There is, what happens? Less air, right? So there's a pressure difference. Yes, right? No carbon dioxide, and what happens? And what happens? The oxygen inside this is also being used. Okay, right? Or let's tell it this way. You see it, you leave this apparatus for a while, right? And then you leave both these apparatus for a while. Listen to me very carefully, okay? You leave both of these apparatus for a while, and then you see this A apparatus, the water is coming up. And this one, no water is coming up. What is happening in here, Ma? Can you understand that something is going wrong or something is happening in here? There's a pressure difference. Tell me if the pressure is increasing in this container or decreasing in here. Tell me that first. The pressure in this container is increasing or decreasing? Tell me that. Decreasing. Exactly. Well done. It is decreasing, so that, right, the pressure, low pressure, then what happens to maintain that? This water comes up. Okay, this air column, right, it needs more air into this, right? Then what happens? This water is pushed up, right? High pressure to low pressure, always remember. But in here you can clearly see that the pressure is maintained. How is the pressure maintained? Well, because you did not take out the carbon dioxide in it. Okay, the carbon dioxide sent out, okay, the germinating seeds will produce carbon dioxide, right? Then of course there is a difference, but of course no difference can be observed. Why? Because the oxygen in the system will be used back, right? So there's a balance in between, right? KOH is not used. Okay, can you understand, right? So pressure difference, to maintain the pressure difference, this water has no role in here. Okay, but in here it has a role, right? This water level has to come up a bit so that this pressure is maintained, right? I'm taking time so that you can understand this. Okay, did not understand. Let me explain once more. Okay, right. So this is the main part of the lesson, right? The respiration part, because we have two experiments. So that is why I'm taking time for y'all. Right. Okay, now listen to me very carefully. You have the germinating seeds, two sets. Okay. Bismillah. Listen to me. A apparatus, B apparatus. What is the difference between these two apparatus? What is this difference? That is the KOH in A. Okay. Right. Now, tell me, what is the function of KOH? KOH is to absorb the carbon dioxide, right? Okay, fine. Absorb carbon dioxide into it. Okay, now, if the KOH absorbs carbon dioxide, okay, and what happens is that there is a pressure difference between this system, in the sense that there is decreasing pressure happening inside this, low pressure. Okay, why? Because the potassium hydroxide is absorbing the KOH. In here, what is happening? No, right? The what do we call? The germinating seeds in B, they produce carbon dioxide, right? Listen to me. They produce carbon dioxide, and they use the oxygen in the system again, right? So first of all, what I want you all to understand is that, now some of you all might be like, isn't there any other air inside this, like nitrogen or something? Right? Okay, so some of you all might be like, is it equal always, like the carbon dioxide taken in is equal to the volume of the oxygen taken in? Right, now listen to me very carefully. In this setup, okay, we have a assumption that we think that the volume of carbon dioxide in the flask is negligible, like in the sense we are taking care of only the carbon dioxide produced by the germinating seeds, and then we think that the absorbed carbon dioxide volume, the released carbon dioxide volume, is equal to the absorbed oxygen volume, right? So with that, we look at this experiment, okay, right? No. In here, we don't have the control setup, ma, right? This is the experiment part itself. We don't have the control setup in here, right? Okay, fine. Now, the difference is that KOH, right? So no KOH in here. What happens in there? No, if there's no KOH, the germinating seeds will start producing carbon dioxide. Okay, listen to me, all of y'all. The carbon dioxide will be produced into the system and no KOH to take care of it, right? To absorb it, right? And then actually this pressure should go high, but you can't see anything in here. Why? Because something else is being used up in this, right? That is the oxygen. Okay, the carbon dioxide is being produced from one side and the oxygen is being used by the germinating seeds from the other side, right? So the pressure is balanced, but in here, nobody is there to, what do you think? What can you understand? Which means that there is something that the oxygen is being what? Used up. So that is why we have, that is why we don't want the carbon dioxide roaming around in the system. That is why we want this KOH to absorb the carbon dioxide. Okay, right? So there is a pressure difference, and you see because of this oxygen is being used in the respiration, we see the water level go up, right? Okay, in the end, I'll explain it. Right, thank you very much. Okay, you got it. Okay, right, okay. Right, but no question has still come from this system, right? In your test paper, in your past papers. And thankfully, no question has come. No, not vacuum, right? Okay, very clear. Thank you very much. Okay, right. Let me have my water. Okay, right. Let's go for the next part. That is irritability and coordination. Okay. Right. So when you have a stimuli, right, when you burn your hand or when somebody is shouting at your ears, right? So what is the response you give, right? You close your ears, you shout back at them, right? So you have a slap. Okay, good. Okay. So the ability to respond to stimuli received from an internal or external environment is called as irritability. Okay, right? So it can even come within you, right? You feel hunger, right? So it is a stimuli which comes within you, right? Okay, so your stomach tells like, hurry up, eat something, I'm hungry, right? So you go and eat something, right? So you have the stimuli and then you have the response. Stimuli is an external, what do we call, change, right? To which you can respond to, right? Okay, which is, now imagine somebody shouts at you very or somebody talks to you in a very low voice. Okay, so in which means that you won't be able to recognize it, right? So that is not a stimuli. Okay, so they stimuli means no, wrong. Stimuli means response is wrong. The meaning is that stimuli is anything that can bring a change in you. Okay, now Takrim Hussain, I maybe if you are close by, right, and you close by flame, right? And then you by mistakenly you touch the flame, right? What is the stimuli you get? It's hot, right? You felt it, right? And that is the stimuli. You felt the heat in your hand. That is the stimuli, right? And then what was the response? You quickly change the position of your hand. You quickly move your hand, right? So that is the stimuli and the response. So this connection, right? This connection between the stimuli and the response is what we call as the coordination, right? Okay. Now, you should have proper coordination. The communication between different organs during responding to a stimuli is known as the coordination, right? Now, imagine somebody, you go to somewhere, right, out, and then somebody calls your name, right? And then you turn, right? So what is the stimuli? It was the sound of your friend. And what did you do? You stood still? No, you heard it, and then you turned your entire body, and then you looked at that person. Can you see how many organs are being involved into this? So that is what we call as coordination, right? Yes, there is a threshold value, Khalid. Yes, right? Okay, so that is not in your syllabus. Anyways, other examples, why do I have to mention about other examples? What do you mean 8-5? Okay, right, fine. Back to the lesson. Okay, so irritability is that ability to respond to a stimuli received from internal or external environment. Okay, right? Okay, fine. So are we the only one that show coordination? No, right? Even plants show the irritability and coordination, right? The leaves of mimosa, when you touch it, it's very sensitive to touch, right? Okay, and then there are more, even the other animals, right? Okay, they are also able to respond to a stimuli, right? Fine. Okay, question again. Answer, please. Which one of the following organs does not contribute to maintain homeostasis of the human body? Okay, now this one, think a bit, right? This involves some more theory, right? Anyways, what I wanted to include this. 2, okay. You mean the kidneys? Okay, fine. 4, ears. 2, 1, skin, okay. Ears, homeostasis. Homeostasis is the balance in which you have to maintain in your body, right? You feel very hot. What do? You sweat, right? So that your body trying to maintain the internal environment is what we call as homeostasis. 4. Yes, it is the fourth one. Now let me explain. Skin, how does it maintain the homeostasis? Well, of course, that is what I told you. If you feel sweaty, what happens? If you feel very warm and hot, what happens? Your skin will start producing sweat, right? So it's trying to maintain the internal temperature, right? It doesn't want the temperature to rise in you. Okay, and the kidneys, how do they maintain the homeostasis? Well, we have several hormones being produced, right? So that is a different part, right? We have the what do we call the adrenal, what do we call the glands, right? And kidneys, they of course even help to maintain they are closely related to your high blood, to maintain your pressure too, right? Okay, and then we have the pancreas, right? The pancreas, of course, correct, regulates the glucose level, right? We have two hormones being produced. What are the two hormones? What are the two hormones produced by the insulin and glucagon, right? Okay, fine. So they also contribute to the homeostasis of the body, but here, no, it's there outside just for you to direct the nope. Ear also make the body balance? No, the ear does not do anything, rather than it directs the sound, right? That is, you mean the cochlea inside, right? So they have to mention the part of the ear, right? Yeah, the cerebrum, yes, ma, that is part of the brain. Yes, but we are talking about the just the ear, right? Okay, right, just the earlobes. Okay, right. Pancreas, it maintains the glucose level, blood glucose level. Okay, fine. Next part, excretion. And what I found out when I was doing this PPT for y'all is that the examiners, right, the past papers are, I found like 4 questions from this part. Okay, right? So listen to me very carefully. Removal of waste products from the body that are produced during metabolism is known as excretion. The answer is ear, right? Answer is ear. Okay, right. Okay, fine. Right, excretion. So you know that our body, right, the main excretory method of us is the excretory system, which involves our kidneys, right? Okay, right. So urine, which have urea, water, and salt, right? And then of course, even our skin is helpful to excrete, to put out the waste matter as sweat, right? Water and salt. And then of course, even carbon dioxide, right, in your lungs, right? So what happens is that you take in oxygen, right, and then the carbon dioxide, from where does it, the carbon dioxide from your body, the cellular, the cells, they produce carbon dioxide, right? So it's a waste matter, it can't build up in your body, right? So from where does it go out? It goes out from your lungs, right? Exhale gas, right? Okay, metabolism. What is metabolism? Metabolism is the chemical reactions that take place in your system, right? We have 3 terms, metabolism. You can define them, you have 2 parts, that is catabolism and anabolism, right? Okay, right, the chemical process that happens in your body, that is what we call as metabolism, right? Sometimes we build up things, sometimes we break things inside, break things in the sense, the chemicals, I mean, right? The food you eat is carbohydrate, and then can you absorb carbohydrate directly to your body? No, that doesn't happen. Then how does it happen? Well, of course, there should be breaking down taking place, right? So that is one form of metabolism, right? And then you have sometimes you overeat, right? And then you're full. Then what happens? It has to store the food, right? So that you can use it later. Okay, then that is a form of metabolism, right? In which you store things, okay, small stuffs build up, and it's like building blocks, right? The food you eat is maintained, right? The chemical reactions take place, either they break down and take it as, use it for the energy production, or they store it and use it for uh, for later, right? Okay, anabolism and catabolism, exactly. Right, okay, answer. What is the constituent mostly present in the urine of a healthy person? No, I have another question. That is feces, that is stool. Isn't that an excretory material? No, right? That does not mean an excretory material. Why? Because it is basically the food that you eat comes out, right? The body doesn't produce it by itself, right? It's basically the rice, the food that you eat, right? The absorption takes place, and whatever the waste material comes out. Okay, so that is the process of digestion, right? That is not a part where your cell itself produce feces. Your cell does not produce stool, right? Okay, hope that answers the question. Right, water is the answer. Yeah, the first one, right? Some of y'all might tell some of y'all might tell that the answer is urea. No, right? The medium in which humans excrete is what? Liquid, right? So there's lots of water in it. Okay, right? The answer is water. This is a question from your 2019 paper, right? See, sometimes they throw easy questions at you, right? And then if you mistake it, then in vain, right? Okay, fine. Okay, the organ which mainly contributes to nitrogenous excretion in the human is, very good, kidney, right? Okay, well done. Right, skin, of course, not much, right? You have this, you don't want this urea and uric acid to be built up in your system, right? So what it does is that actually the production takes place in the liver. Okay, please know that the production takes place in the liver, but the excretion, right, will be done by your kidneys. Okay, the kidneys are your filters, thankfully. Okay. Okay, the answer for the question number 3 of 2017 is 2. Nitrogenous excretion is what we call as, what do we call? You use lots of protein in your system, right? Okay, so you know that protein is made up of some chemistry, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen, right? So when you have these waste products, right, build up in your system as nitrogenous products, right? Waste products, okay, basically urea, uric acid. So those are the nitrogenous waste products. So you want these things to be moved out, or else it will be toxic into your system, right? It will turn to toxic and you will have this bad effects in you, right? You can even die. Okay, right? So what your kidneys do is that you your kidneys take away this urea and uric acid, basically the nitrogenous wastage, out of the system, right? So the answer is the nose. No, it does not do anything, right? Okay, it filters the air, yeah, but excretion of nitrogenous items, no, it doesn't. Carbon dioxide is being excreted by your lungs, right? So that is carbon dioxide, not nitrogenous excretion. Skin, of course, little bit, right? There are sometimes with sweat, right, there are nitrogenous waste materials coming out of your skin too, right, when you're sweating. But the question asks mainly, understand the question, right? Okay, okay, fine. Hope you all are clear with that. Okay, next question. Look at this. We have another question from the same. What's the reason for selecting water? Okay, let me come back. Okay, now tell me, you are a healthy person, okay, right? What medium of excretion do you do? Is it solid? Okay, no, it's liquid, right? So when you take your urine, right, what is it made up of? It's basically water, right? In water you have the uric acid, and if you're diabetes, then you will have glucose in it, and if you have infections, you will have microorganisms in it. But we are looking at a person who is very healthy, right? So the basic or the main constituent of your urine will be water, right? Unhealthy person means sometimes you have people whose kidneys are not functioning and there's a blockage or something, and what happens is that their urine is very dark, right? It's like orange, right? Which means very less water, right? They are suffering. Okay, right? Okay, fine. So this is an easy question. Come on, water is the answer, right? Okay, you don't excrete something else in urine, right? Urine is basically water. Okay, alhamdulillah. Right, next question, 2012, third question. Come on, answer it. Which of the following components are present in the urine of a healthy person? Okay, third one, urea, glucose, water, salt. Nope, that's not the one. Urea, glucose, yeah, exactly. As I told you all, if there's glucose in it, right, it shows that you are diabetic, right? So the answer should be carbon dioxide, of course. Come on, carbon dioxide is being let out of our system by the lungs, not by the urine, right? So the only answer that goes properly is that urea, uric acid, water, and salt. The option is 2. Look at this, we have another question too, right? Your examiners are fond of the excretory system. 2000 13, question number 1. Easy. What is the answer? First one. Yes. Okay. Right. That is the answer. Okay. Right. Excretion of. Okay. My computer is getting stuck. Removing waste products of metabolism from your body is a characteristic of organisms. This process is called excretion. Yes, exactly. It's an easy question, isn't it? Okay. Fine. What do we have in here now? Movement. Okay. Right. Why do we have to move in the first place? If we can have our food from just one place and just we can chill at one place, right? That doesn't happen. Right? We have to move around. Why do we have to move around? We have to move to get our food. We have to move to to protect ourselves, right? We have to move for the purpose of reproduction, right? Okay, so other organisms, unicellular organisms, to move, right? Okay, right. Okay, let me. Okay, hold on a minute. I have some problem with my laptop. I think my laptop is getting tired. Anyways. Okay, fine. Bismillah. Right, unicellular organisms move too. Okay, right. So examples for unicellular organisms that move, like anything that any specimens that you have checked in the laboratory of your schools. Huh? Amoeba. And paramecium, pond water, bacteria, very good, right? Yes. So look at this, a cheetah chasing a gazelle. Okay, so its purpose is to get the food and the gazelle's purpose is protection. Okay, right. Okay. My voice is breaking. Is it clear now? Is my voice clear? Okay, how do unicellular organisms move? Well, of course, they have their movement appendages, right? Now, paramecium, they have this small cilia, right? And then you have bacteria which with flagella, and we have done this in the previous lesson, right? Okay, fine. Okay, reproduction, production of new generation by a unicellular or multicellular organism for the continuation of the species, right? Now, why do we tell that dinosaurs are extinct? Because the last animal or the last organism which belong to that particular species is dead, right? But that is why we call that species is extinct, right? So to continue the species, right, we need the reproduction to happen. Okay, right. So you have two types of reproduction, that is we have asexual and we have sexual reproduction. Okay, can you all see my screen, children? Okay, fine. Okay. For a while, I'll keep the chat box closed. Okay, right? Because my laptop is getting stuck for no reason. Okay. Bismillah. Okay, right. So asexual reproduction is only one parent is involved, and sexual reproduction, two different parents contribute to the genetic material, right? If you all have any questions, you can raise your hand or chat in the chat box. Okay, right, fine. Yes, now can you all see, this is a picture of a plant, okay, which is just a single plant which involves in asexual reproduction, right? Can you all see tiny green plants, right? all around the leaves. Okay, and then we have sexual reproduction in plants again, right? Right? Which involves the flower, right? The flower is the reproductive organ of the plants, right? And then, of course, as for the human reproduction, right, we have a separate lesson for that. Just remember that for the continuation of a species, we need reproduction to happen, right? Okay, so what are the gametes? Play the role, and then the first cell is produced and then they multiply. Okay, right. Question again. Please answer the question. I have opened the chat box. Yes, exactly. Well done. The answer is that the third one is not the answer. Okay. A large number of offsprings is produced in a short period of time. Yes, asexual reproduction, but that does not happen in sexual reproduction, right? It is a feature of asexual reproduction. Okay, then we have meiosis, right? Meiosis occurs in sexual reproduction. Gametes are produced, again sexual. New species with better adaptations, well, that does not happen in asexual. That has to happen only in that will happen only in sexual reproduction. Why? Because in asexual, the same genetic material without any change goes from the mother cell to the daughter cell, right? Okay, fine. Okay, another question. Come on, answer this. 2013. This is all past paper questions. Okay, answer me. Mother, ovum, father, sperm, and both get together and you have the zygote, and from the zygote something happens and then you have the infant being born. What is the answer? The answer is 2, 3, 4, 1. What is this? I'm getting all the answers. The answer should be 2. It should be 4. Meiosis and mitosis, right? Not 2 or 3, dear. It's 4, right? Meiosis and mitosis. Why? Because in here, it's just the ovum and the sperm, right? You don't want the genetic material to have 46 chromosomes, right? Okay, you just need 23, and then you have to have the 23 from here, right? Okay, then why? Because, okay, how to identify that? Well, understand the fact that we have to have half from the mother, half from the father. For that to happen, you need only a half, right? So that half thing happens only in meiosis, right? Okay. Okay. Right. What is the answer for the 2016 question number 18? First one. In asexual reproduction, a large number of offsprings is produced in a short period of time. Others all are happening only in sexual reproduction. Clear? Right. Fine. So what is the answer for this? The meiosis has to take place first, right? And then the zygote, from the zygote for the infant to be born, the zygote, the same cell replicates itself, right? And for that to happen, you have to have mitosis, right? Okay. Question number 2014, right? So we have 10 minutes more, right? Come on, quickly answer this. 2014, this is a structured essay question. Okay, easy. Let's see. Mitosis and meiosis we did in the previous session. We can share the link with you, right, so that you can understand it better, right? 10 minutes more. We want to discuss your questions too. Come on, what is the answer for this? Considering the food production of green plants and feeding habits of organisms, name 1, 2, and 3 stated in the diagram. First is plants. Is it? Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Uh-huh. Glucose. Okay. Good. Good answers. Mm. Yes, the first one is going to be a plant, or the, you can tell, the producer, right? First is obviously going to be a plant, right? Okay. Why? Because using the solar energy, who can feed on solar energy? It's only the plants, right? Okay. Then it is going to be a green plant. First one is going to be a green plant or producer. Then you have the third one, which is eating. Okay, let's go for the second one. Eating the herbivores and eating something else also. Then which means it is supposed to be an what? What is it? Carnivore, right? Why did I make the second one carnivore? Why? Because the third one is feeding on the first one also. Oh, then we have a problem, right? This can't be the carnivore. This should be the omnivore. So the first one is going to be the plant or the producer. Then the second one is going to be what? The carnivore. Then the third one is going to be the omnivore. Right. Next question. Yes. Okay. What do you think the answer for this is? Name respectively the male and the female gametes which contribute to the process of human reproduction. Sperm and ovum, sperm and egg. Very good, right? Make sure to write the answers in the correct order, right? They clearly have told respectively, right? And in your marking scheme, it is mentioned if the order is not correct, put them wrong, right? No marks. Okay, so you have to make it a point. If you see the word respectively, make sure that you write in the order they're asking. Male, sperm, female will be ovum. What is the type of cell division that occurs in the formation of the gametes? That is meiosis. Very good, meiosis, right? State one advantage of this type of cell division. Okay, we have discussed it in the previous webinar. Meiosis, what is the help in evolution? Yes. New characteristics, formation of new generation, yes. And of course, to maintain the what do we call, a constant number of chromosomes of the organism, right? New characteristics, right? New adapted characteristics to the environment. Production, yes, yes, very good, right? So any advantages, if you write the correct one, will be getting the answer, right? This is something easy, growth and development, right? If you are living, however, you need to grow, right? So what is growth? Well, of course, that is the irreversible increase in size and cell, right? Now there is a constant number of cells in your body, which is around 3.5 billion cells, right? So in an adult human body, and then you have increase in the number of cells by cell division, right? And then cell differentiation, right? Now this is the growth, right? Now imagine if you take the fetal development, right? You have the zygote being multiplied and then differentiating, right? The same cells, some of the cells are being the eye, some of the cells are producing, some of the cells are building up the liver, some of the cells are being the neurons, right? And then the gametes are produced in one place, right? So all of these things are happening, right? And then now this one is another experiment, that is another practical for you all in your book. Write a model of an axonometer, right? So this, now obviously you can't see the growth of a plant, right? You can't just put a chair and sit in front of a plant to see it grow, right? So this one, what it does is, right, if you connect this axonometer, right, so because of the scale and because of the way it is what do we call, modeled, you can see the small difference at a larger scale. Okay, right? So that is the purpose of this axonometer. You can see the growth of plants at a larger scale, right? Fine. Okay, this is the human development. You can see this is an interesting picture, right? Okay, Okay, last question of the day. Come on, answer it quickly. What characteristics given below should be studied? This is from your 2018 past paper. Yes. Fertilized egg, a piece of meat, a bean seed. Okay, and then what is the next one? Bean seed obtained before germination. Yes. What is the answer? 2. Exactly. Is it? 4. Cellular organization. 1. Growth. Okay. Fertilized egg. Okay. Do they? Okay. Now you want to see if these things are living. Okay. Now, if they are living, right, they would be able to show these, right? Growth. Yes. Fertilized egg will show. Bean seed obtained before germination. Not really. But all of these parts, all of these specimens, not growth. No. The answer is respiration, right? I want you all to think about it, right? Fertilized egg, yes. A piece of meat, yes. You have these, what do we call these organisms, right? And if you give the what do we call the needed, the wanted, the essential nutrients for that particular piece of meat, will it do respiration? Yes, it does, right? You can make it live, right? Okay, right? Okay, so the answer is, but reproduction, right? Fertilized egg, no. Meat, no. Bean seed, no, right? So you have to think, right? You want to distinguish these all 3 items as to be differentiated, right? So the answer is what? Respiration, right? Okay, it cannot be reproduction. Of course, reproduction is not the answer. Of course, growth is not the answer, right? Because but the bean seed obtained before germination, of course, you can't see the growth of it, right? Before germination, right? And then once, when it is germination, then is the point that you can observe the growth, right? Okay, fine. And then we have a different story. Now, what do we have in here? Why do I have to put a different story? What is this? What do you think this is? Any yes, exactly, this is a virus. Okay, this is a virus, not any other virus. This is the replication of the life cycle of a coronavirus. Okay, right, we have the viron coming into this cell, right, and then what it does, it produces its own genetic materials, right, with the help of organelles, right? Why? Because it doesn't have any organelles in it, right? Okay, why? Because you should know that viruses cannot be identified as living organisms, right? Okay, okay, right. A virus becomes active only inside the host cells, right? Okay, right. This is a basic life cycle of how a coronavirus will work, right? This is a diagram. This is just a depiction, right? Okay, you can see that this is out of your syllabus. Okay, right, this is far away from your syllabus. Okay, just because of this pandemic situation, I thought, why not include this into the slides? Okay, right. So what it does is that with your own organelles, it comes into you, right? It's parasitic, right? It comes into you, and then it embeds its genetic material. Of course, it has its genetic material, right? It comes into our cell, and then it attaches itself to our genetic materials, right? And then what happens? It produces whatever it wants, and then rupture our cell, and then it goes out as if a big boss, right? Okay, so that is the life cycle of a virus, basically, right? Okay, fine. So we are done for the day, right? And that's it. And we are done for the day, right? Questions, or we have some, what do we call, advertisements, right? Okay, you can ask any questions if you all have any. Right, okay, right on time. I have taken too much of time, 10:28, right? Any questions? Do you all have any questions? Next class, inshallah, we'll be informing y'all. I hope all of y'all are in the group, right? So that recording will be available, yes. More webinars, yes, inshallah, we have planned. We have actually planned to do a past paper series. Alhamdulillah, crystal clear, thank you. Separate session for inheritance. Yes, I have planned. Yes, inshallah, we'll see. Yes. Yes, this is organized by Tasbih Media. Asexual reproduction, yes. What is the question about asexual reproduction? What is meant by autotrophic? Okay, so autotrophic is when the organisms are capable of producing their own food without depending on any other organism, right? So basically, when we are referring to autotrophic, we are mentioning the plants, right? Why? Because they are the only creatures, and some bacteria, of course, right? There are some other organisms which are chemototrophic, right? Apart from that, photoautotrophic means they are capable of using the light, right? And produce their own food, right? Which is they are capable of performing photosynthesis, basically. Okay, hope that answers the question. Any other solution than KOH in that setup? Well, basically, as it can absorb carbon dioxide, that is why we use potassium hydroxide in that. Yes, the link will be put in YouTube. Yes, you're welcome. Okay, so metabolism, again a question about metabolism. You should know that metabolism is the chemical process that happens inside the organism to maintain life, right? Okay, and then we have metabolism as two, right? That is catabolism and anabolism, right? So anabolism is what you basically make, right? Okay, and catabolism is what you break if you, now for an example, anabolism, let me explain anabolism. You eat food, and then the glucose, right, is to be stored in the liver as glycogen, right? So the glucose will be the glucose small building blocks, right? They will be put together and form, they will synthesize glycogen and store it in your system, right? So that is the process of anabolism. And then catabolism is when you are doing exercise, right? Now this glycogen stored in the liver has to be taken out and produce glucose, right? So what happens, that glycogen stored in your system will be taken out and broken, right? So therefore, that is an example for catabolism. So both of these things can be known as metabolism, right? To keep you alive, these chemical reactions should take place in your body. Is anything alive within the cell? Is anything alive within the cell? What do you mean? The cell is alive in you. That is why you are alive, Khalid. Okay, right? Okay. Heterotrophic is the organisms which are, what do we say, which depend on other organisms for their nutrition, right? Like us, okay? So we depend on other organisms to survive. Thank you. Oxonometer is to measure the growth, right? Okay, fine. I have taken 3 more minutes too, okay? Right, 3 extra minutes. hopefully, yes, if you are interested to join the past paper discussion with, we will have three instructors, Ms. Rushda Ismat and Ms. Nabila Salman Faris and myself for biology. So inshallah, you can contact me or Ms. Nabila, and inshallah, we will inform you the day in which we will arrange this class for y'all. And of course, we have planned to, now if we are going to do group by group, you know, like in the sense lesson by lesson, I think more than that, what we do as a past paper discussion will benefit y'all a lot, right? So it takes much of effort from our side, right? So we have to make our own PPTs and explanations and all those stuffs, right? So inshallah, we will take some time, right? Maybe in the mid of November, right, Miss Nabila and Miss Rushda?
Yeah, there are questions regarding grade 11 webinar. So we will be doing past paper discussions for O-level students who are sitting for the exam this year. So we can't focus on each and every lesson separately due to the limited time.
Exactly. So that is one thing we have, right? You have very limited time, okay? So you have to make sure that you utilize the time properly, right? So the past paper discussion, of course, it's going to be with theory, right? We will be covering the theory and the question so that you will know how to answer the question. Yes, chemistry. Miss Rushda, they need lots of help with chemistry. So inshallah, hopefully, Miss Rushda can help you all with it, inshallah. And yes, shall we call it a day? Yes, and right. So dear students, thank you very much for joining with us and investing your Sunday morning too to study science. Well done, children. So yes, we'll call it a day. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And God bless you all. Keep studying and stay tuned.